Welcome back to Bust Picks. Little fun fact, Don wrote and composed that entire intro song by himself in his basement with no tools like Tony Stark built the first Iron Man costume.
Don't give me credit for anything in life. Nothing I deserve credit for.
Welcome back. We're going to get right into it with the fact of the day. Don, what's my fact of the day? Teach me. Give me knowledge.
Fact of the day, coming up this weekend is the biggest show in sports entertainment.
This is a top 5 weekend in sports.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we have MLB going, games leading right into the NHL playoffs.
Fantastic. This is it. Like, people are making the cut.
Yep.
Intense hockey.
We're looking at, I think, like 7 games left for most teams, 6 to 7 in that range right now.
Big basketball games matter this weekend for teams that need to get into that wild card spot or into the play-in tournament.
You have some Final Four going on leading into the national championship.
It's the end of it's the Final Four, which we're going to cover for men and women's, which is probably at its peak it's ever been.
Yep.
And then WrestleMania.
On top, this is going to just be a wild blur of a weekend.
Which next weekend we have a fantastic WrestleMania recap show that we have very, very fun plans for. But Don, fun fact of the day.
So fun fact of the day, when McMahon originally came up with it in the 1980s.
He created it?
He was the one who created it. When they bought it. It used to be separate. Wrestling used to be based on what region you lived in the territories. McMahon was the one to consolidate and make it a national brand. And he was going to put on the first ever closed circuit television large spectacle show. Mm-hmm. That's where we had Muhammad Ali be a ref, Mr. T come out.
What? I did not know that.
Yeah,
Mr. T was a ref?
No, Mr. T was in a tag team match with Hulk Hogan.
You know, he fits in that.
Yeah, versus Roddy Piper. And I
feel like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been great, like cameo wrestlers.
I think they're just too big at that time.
I guess like wrestling wasn't at the high, because like now I feel like WWE can steal any star in the world.
They can. Well, I mean, anybody who wants to go out and try it. I mean, what's his the Spanish singer with that dress in flamboyant outfits.
Bad Bunny?
No, from the 80s. Starts with an L.
Luis Miguel.
No.
I don't know.
Very flamboyant outfits. I'm forgetting his name.
Power through it.
Yeah. Anyway, he was the official timekeeper. Liberace.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Liberace was like dressing in the Spanish, or just was the timekeeper. Like it was like you had a bunch of people in there.
That's cool.
Anyway, the original name McMahon came up for it was going to be the Colossal Tussle.
That's so weak.
It's so bad. And it took the ring announcer to try to pitch it, and he based the name based on the Beatles. Because you had 20 years prior, Beatlemania.
Yeah, WrestleMania is such like it's like Toyota-thon. Like, it's just part of the ether now. Like, it's just like one of those words that, like, in 30 years, people are going to be like, that's always been a word.
Yeah, but think about it, was almost the Colossal Tussle.
And that would have been a colossal failure.
That would have been hilarious to see that on a billboard.
Let's talk about some backyard baseball. It's baseball season. We just started. Opening day was a few days ago.
Yep.
We've gotten to see a couple teams. Me and Don are going to run through some of the teams
that
we like, that we don't like, and then we have a very fun game. Me and Don are going to take a random MLB future. We'll get to that. We'll
get to that in a minute.
First off, we're going to start with the MLB Rising. What's the team that you see rising during this season? A team that maybe not a lot of people have their eye on.
Mine, the big one that just barely made a wild card, it was last season, is the Toronto Blue Jays.
I love the Blue Jays.
I have them making a good run this year. You have a young, athletic roster, but a lot of them could probably play a lot of different sports. You have Vladdy, who should be having a better season than he had the year ago, but the big part is they've gained a lot of experience. They're still a young core, but they've been around for a few seasons. They're no longer rookies or just called up, and their pitching last season worked really well against right-handers and left-handers, very consistent in that aspect. But what has me doubling down on this team is the amount of road games that they were able to win last year. Like, they were able to get near 500 on the road, win a lot of games, win the games they should have against bad teams. So I'm projecting this season they're going to make that step forward and start beating the better teams. Do you think they can win their division? I think they have an outside shot at it, yes.
So the team I'm going to pick is a team that, before the season started, I was starting to get a little bit of buzz on.
Sure.
They are now undefeated in the MLB season. Mm-hmm. They are the Pittsburgh Pirates. I love these small market teams going big. I want to root for these small market teams.
Makes sense.
Plus, they have players that I love: O'Neal Cruz, Aronis Chapman, Andrew McClutch. Like they have Brian Reynolds. They have like legit fun players on their team.
Does the age worry you with Chapman and McCutcheon?
Yes, 1,000%. But
I'm just curious on your take on that.
That's how they're going to build on this Pirates team. They're never going to have O'Neal Cruz is like a young star, and they got a couple of them here,
sure.
But like they're not ever going to be like, oh, they got all these dogs all over. They're a small market team. They're going to be seen as like farm systems for other franchises like the Dodgers. Yeah. But this is the fun thing about rooting for a team or hoping for teams like the Pirates is like you want to be part of that season. A few years ago, I stamped my stamp on the Orioles, and I've been following the Orioles. And right now, it's at a point where I love the Orioles. They're a team that I'm constantly rooting for. A team that I think might win the division, but that's a whole.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, but right now, I think the Pittsburgh Pirates and another outside shot. I know you're not going to like this as a Yankees fan. I think the Red Sox have some juice. Right now they're off to a shaky start, but they've made some moves that a lot of people have clowned them on. I think this team is going to flirt with making the playoffs.
I don't know. I don't have them winning over 80 games, honestly. This is going to be, especially in the division, it's going to be an uphill
probably the
battle.
Second hardest division in all of baseball.
Yeah, easily.
It's a very tough division. I just think that the Red Sox can't be bad for that long, right? I know that they're like...
Tell that to the Cubs?
In most of my life, the Red Sox have been good, which is crazy because before my life, the Red Sox were one of the worst teams in all of sports. Mm-hmm. But like in most of my life, the Red Sox have been very, very, very good. Sure. And it just feels about that time where the Red Sox just make a little bit of a push, make a little bit of noise. I'm calling my shot on the Red Sox this year.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go into the team with the most to lose. What's an MLB team going into this year with a lot to lose? Now, I'm going to go first. It's the Dodgers.
Yeah, I was going to say, the two obvious picks here are Dodgers and Yankees.
So I have Dodgers and Braves. I think the Dodgers and Braves are stacked. Now, I would have said the Yankees, but they've had a couple injuries happen to their roster. Now they're off to a hot start, too. But the Dodgers, we spent like $1 billion this offseason.
Yeah.
And
it nearly blew up before the season even started.
Well, we don't. A lot of people.
There's investigations.
A lot of people making allegations about my friend, who likes to party. That's all we're gonna say about that. And I love the Dodgers, but we are now in a window of championship or bust. That's what we are in.
You've pushed chips all the way in,
which is it's so exciting and it's so devastating because you will be the butt of the joke if nothing happens. Same thing for the Braves. The Braves maybe not as stacked as the Dodgers. They are stacked. There's no reason why they shouldn't be competing for another championship this year.
No, they should be competing, but in my mind, they haven't made the same financial.
No, they have not. I mean, they have, but they haven't.
Not to the same degree.
No one can do it. It's us and the Yankees. That's it.
There's very few teams that
Sox,
can.
But
I think the Braves should be hanging around without a doubt. There's too much expectation on the team.
But you're 100% Dodgers have the most to lose.
Dodgers, I think, have the most to lose because of how much that they've promised.
The Dodgers can win 110 games this year.
Yeah.
Lose in the NLCS and still be seen as a disappointment.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
That's crazy to me.
When you're spending the largest amount on any roster right now,
I think,
and you went out and made a big show of this is the piece that we need, and it's World Series or bust right now.
But you spend that money to win the regular season. And hopefully those players get you to wins in the postseason.
Yeah, you can't guarantee postseason play.
Postseason baseball is really all right, now who's going to win this thing? It's
about momentum.
Battle.
It's about momentum.
It's quite literally about momentum. I mean, Red October was a real thing for the Philadelphia Phillies, and then they just ran out of steam, which is apparently a theme in Philadelphia sports, but that's a whole thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Let's go on to the next. We're going to go with the team we have the most hope for, a team that we're going to be silently rooting for, or a team that we think is ready, to be hopeful and maybe have a championship run.
No, I have to do with my secret team, the rising star team of the Blue Jays.
You're going to go back-to-back Blue Jays.
To me, it's either that or I have to go with a team that I have
the Blue Jays can win a title.
It's like that or it's my guilty pleasure team, the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, okay.
I have no actual ambition for them to win a World Series this season, obviously.
Yeah.
But I still root for them constantly. I just love the franchise and like their history. So they're like my guilty pleasure. Like, you know what? I'll go watch a Seattle Mariners game. It's just like ice cream after 11.
You and your girlfriend have like a love for the city of Seattle. I think that adds to like
a little.
You guys
bit.
like romanticize the city of Seattle a bit.
I think, for me, it was always just about like the deep dives I've done into different teams. And Seattle just seems like nothing in Seattle. Like they're the quirkiest team in baseball.
The quirkiest team's like the Mariners. The Mariners they shouldn't be a team.
The Seattle Mariners shouldn't be a team.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Marlins.
the Marlins.
The Miami Marlins shouldn't they have no fans. Like it's crazy.
No, that one's a bizarre.
They have
but
a fish tank in their stadium. Yeah,
but I feel sad when I see Miami with like Seattle. It's more like, you know what? You had your Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
you've had like some of the greatest rosters and some of the most fun players.
Yeah, some of the most exciting players in the sport.
Easily.
Yeah. Crazy. My team that I'm rooting for this year, I got two of them. I have the Orioles. I'm still on that bandwagon.
I mean, you planted that a few years ago.
So, like back in 2019, I bet on their lose a bunch of games, and I was right. And then the next year, I was like, I'm going to bet on them to lose a bunch of games again. And the year after that, I was like,
this is the year.
We're going to bet the over on their season win total. And since then, I've just been cashing. There's been one team that I've organically become a fan of, and that's the Orioles.
Yeah, no, I like that. That builds a real fandom.
But there's another team that I'm going to start building a fandom for.
Sure.
I'm planting the seeds now. I kind of planted it last year. I think I'm going to become an Athletics fan.
Ew.
I know. But like I'm
not even for the fact that of the team, but more the ownership. That's why
I'm not rooting for the ownership. I'm rooting for the team to have success, so that way it's harder for them to leave Oakland.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. I'll get behind that.
Like
they're doing the city dirty.
Like I know everyone's betting against them every single game. I'm kind of just rooting for the city that they have like a miracle championship run or something like that to just like really give the biggest middle finger in all of sports history.
I would love that to happen. Like,
saying that they have 15 errors in 5 games.
Yeah, no, they're playing with mainly a farm system as a starting roster.
Let's do this, Don. We're going to take a future right now.
Sure.
Me and Don have 20 teams ready to simulate a race for.
We randomly chose 20 teams out of a hat, name out of a hat generator.
Yeah. And right now we're going to run it. Don's going to be putting it on the screen right there. And if he can't, well, then we'll just react to it together. Don, Let's go. So now this is the problem that we probably should have come into.
Why did we do a football rush?
No, this is how we're going to decide everything.
This is how we decide everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like, oh my God, the Angels are in the lead. Oh my God, the Angels. And we're Angels fans.
This is the most. All right. That felt so anticlimactic. Considering it's just down the freeway of a team.
I got to be honest, Don. There's nothing less I want to be than an Angels fan.
Astros.
Yeah, I don't want to be an Astros. Yeah. We could have been Rangers fans. We were a stone's throw away from being a Royals fan.
I mean, that would have been fine.
God, we have to refer
But the Angels, to me, is one of the more disappointing teams that came into this. Not because of anything going on with the roster of the franchise. We're going to have to deal with blackouts. Living in LA, we're going to have to deal with game blackouts now.
But
we have now made a chore for ourselves in the sense of not only do we have to watch more games of a team that we don't typically watch a lot of games for, but we have to figure out a way around blackout games for that team.
Don, so we're going to take the Angels over wins.
Okay. What's their over win total?
71.5.
That feels doable.
71 and a half.
That feels doable.
We can do this.
Yeah, no, that does feel doable.
We are now Angels fans.
All right.
Which is kind of hilarious.
Are you going to go change?
No, I don't have an Angels jersey in this room. But I will say this is going to suck.
This is going to be... Well, I mean, Trout's hit a home run every game this season so far.
Yeah, he's electric.
What
if we're just like crazy Trout stands?
I would go into that 100%.
Maybe we're going to some Angel games this year.
Like
they're going to be like $6 anyway. Saying that, let's finish this MLB breakdown with opening day World Series predictions. If you have to take 2 shots, What is the World Series you're going to bet on right now?
Smart money for me is the Orioles and the Braves.
Holy shit, I went Orioles Braves too.
It just feels like the smart chalk money right now.
So I avoided the Dodgers just because if I feel like I say the Dodgers, I'm going to get cursing them. So I'm just going to be like, Braves.
Sure.
Orioles. Call it a day, you know?
Well, my thing is, like you said, alluded to earlier, Yankees are already dealing with some injuries. You have LeMahieu and Garrett Cole already battling
They're also
injuries.
The Yankees. So
I mean, they could turn around. Juan Soto's been a good signing for us.
Insane.
But just the injury bug hasn't left after last season. The Dodgers, it just feels like the most LA Dodgers things to do is get almost there, and then something happen. So I like the Braves to come back.
You would think we'd get used to it by now, but
no.
I get crushed every time. I'm like, damn it,
because they make you believe. They get hot enough to make you believe.
It's almost like. It's that fandom abusive relationship where you're like, damn, I thought this was gonna be different this time. You know,
there's only a few fandoms I think out of all major sports that make you buy in like that.
You just sit there in your car crying after the game, and you're just like, why do I keep letting her do this to me? You know, why do I keep letting her get to me?
Yeah.
And it's because you really like the colors and you really like the home runs, the dingers. The dingers bring you back. The dingers really do bring you back.
I'm curious that comparison of them versus like. Would you rather have that hope, or just be Pittsburgh, where you're like, we're just going for 500. We're just going for 500. Question.
Would you rather be an Alabama fan or like a Texas Tech fan? Like it really is like
you're going to face heartbreak, but what kind of heartbreak are you going for? Are you going for the big love of your life, like the big where they sing about in songs, or just the little tickle of like, you know what, we did good enough?
As a Colts fan, like I've come to the realization we're not a franchise that'll probably ever win another Super Bowl. So, like, for me, it's like, can we get to the divisional round? Like, a divisional round is like a victory in my head. Like, getting every year. Like, I don't know if I'd sign up to be a Bills fan right now, but I think I'd sign up to be a Bills fan right now. Like, that's where I'm at as a Colts fan, though.
Sure.
We haven't won our division in 10 years.
I think just that kind of like. Just like polling different fans and seeing where like the mindset is. Like, what is the better mindset to go into a team with?
I honestly think it's be shitty, like be good once every 3 years.
Yeah,
like I think that's what fans want.
I think that because
like think about how fun Sacramento Kings have been because they lit the beam team. In 2 years, the Sacramento Kings are probably going to be terrible, but like they're going to look back at this beam team for the last 2 years
and like what could have been.
Not even like what could have been. They'd be like, damn, those are fun teams, man. Like, we had a good team. You know, we just had a couple injuries or we couldn't pay all these guys, yada, yada.
Yeah.
That's almost better than winning a championship sometimes. Those Jazz fans talked about Stockton and Malone like they won 6 of them.
That's true. Crazy. That's very true. Yeah. I do like that.
The people for the Pacers talk about Reggie Miller like he was shooting Ray Allen 3-pointers. He was not that.
No, he was good mid range.
Yeah, he was good. He was a good shooter. He was, you know,
no disrespect on the man's name.
Let's go into bust of the week. I'm staying on the baseball topic. I'm starting with the Marlins.
Okay, we're lockstep again.
You went with the Marlins too?
How do you go 0-5?
All right. The White Sox are also 0-5. So like,
no, White Sox won today.
Oh, they did win.
Yeah, White Sox upset today.
Well then,
that's why I picked Miami.
Mets? Did the Mets win?
I'm not sure.
Mets were also, but the Marlins lose like beautifully. Like they're not even trying. Like
it really doesn't feel like it.
I'm rooting for the Athletics. The Marlins look awful.
They're an insane franchise to begin with.
I might bet every game against the Marlins this year.
I mean, I don't blame you.
I might bet every game.
Like, it feels like one of those, like, they're going to have to win one, but I don't see how they get to 40 wins right now.
Like, De La Cruz is definitely, like, an all-star player. But
100%. But you need at least 2 or 3 to do something.
They're dog shit. They're bad, bro.
Yeah.
They're bad. Oof. Yeah, you also went with them.
I went with the Marlins. It's
bust
just
of the week. It's very rare you get a double bust.
How are their odds lines 74 wins?
Don, you could still bet. What do you think you could bet them to win the World Series right now? Give me a number.
Plus, I would honestly put it like 3K.
3K?
3 to 4.
Yeah, it's way more than that.
But oh, I'm sure it is, but just off the rip.
Yeah, I'll give you the exact nine.
Because it's early enough.
12,000 plus 12,000. Plus 12,500 on some books.
What was their
9,000, 10,000.
What was their preseason line?
That's what it was. It was at 10, 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels justified.
Should we take the Angels at plus 10,000? We can get them right now at plus 10,000.
Let's take them after, but I'm down.
Series.
I'm up for that.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
If we're having to double down on this predicament
like
we put ourselves in.
I'm so mad. I can't wait to text everyone I know I'm an Angels fan this year. All right, let's move on to the Final Four. We're going to recap everything that happened in the final, or we're going to predict some stuff that's happening in the Final Four for men's and women's division. We're going to start with the men's division. UConn versus Alabama. Not the matchup we thought we were going to get last week.
No, this is a very surprising one. I didn't think Alabama was going to make it out the second round. That's where I had them.
How disappointing was Arizona?
Very this season.
They're always disappointing.
But normally they're disappointing in the Sweet 16.
They lost in the
Elite 8. But but it felt disappointing from the word jump.
Yeah, no, from the first game we were like,
this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah. And they eked out the first 2 wins, and then they got to the third round. They were like, Alabama lives and dies by the 3 better than any other team I've ever seen in a long, long time.
It's just they're able, but I think the big thing for Alabama, and I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but at least just eye test, they crash the boards after.
They're getting rebounds.
They're getting rebounds, but it creates a lot of second chance opportunity shots that those kinds of 3-point teams need. Again, I don't have. It's just passing the eye test to me. If they battle back and they're a tough defensive unit, more tough than a normal just run it and 3 shooting team normally is.
Meanwhile, UConn was in a game where it was 23-23 at half. They come out the half and they go on a 30-0 streak where they score 30 straight points and Illinois can't score a point. They have beaten every team. They not only have covered the spread in every game, but they have beaten every team by at least 20 points.
Yeah, they're too white hot right now not to just run through this game.
Their dominance in this last year and this year is so impressive. Now the line's at 11.5 for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
That does feel like a pretty big line. But I would bet it. I would just take a point or two. Take it at 10. Take it at 9.
I think I'm going to take UConn. I think UConn's the team of destiny.
Yeah.
I think they're about to go back to back. I think they're so white hot. I don't think Alabama can do this. But I've also, and you've also, doubted Alabama all the way to this point.
That's true.
And why not Alabama? They got the shooters. They got the team.
I just don't know if they have the ability to go against teams that contain the interior really well and someone who could keep up with them with scoring for the entire game.
The thing about UConn is they put the foot on the throat and they just push.
Yeah, because they don't ease up once they have a lead.
They never ease up ever.
And you need that in college. You don't want to ever let up.
It's almost like they never get cold. It's crazy.
Yep.
Purdue, NC State, one of the most interesting games.
This one's going to be exciting to watch. I think it's the third or fourth year since 2008 that we've had an 11 seed make the Final Four.
Yeah, it's insane how often it is for an 11 seed to get into the Final Four over the 6th seed.
Sure.
It's more common that you're an 11 seed getting in.
That makes sense. Based on matchups, yeah.
NC State, I've been rooting for NC State for a long time. Since championship weekend, they made me a lot of money in Vegas.
True.
I've been chasing them all throughout the tournament. I told you last week they're my favorite team. I hope they get into the Final Four. They got here. DJ Burns, one of the most electric players in the tournament. Zach Edey, the foul merchant that he is. This man loves to get fouled. He has 3 moves in his bag. They're all elite. They literally run their offense 4 guards and then a center that's Zach Edey.
Yeah, no,
it's crazy.
It's efficient. It works very well. And this guy just gets a snot beat out of him every game.
So me and you are on very opposite sides of the Zach Edey line.
I think so.
I think you see a lot of yourself in Zach Edey, where you're like, this guy is like a post. You appreciate that game.
I appreciate the game, but I
the
like
post moves, the rebounds.
Yeah, I like a good big man.
But you're like, this guy's getting beat up.
He's getting beat up. Without a doubt, he does foul back. He does foul back. But at least watching in the beginning few minutes of the game, he doesn't really. It's once he starts getting hit and there's no calls, he's like, okay, this is the game. This is the tempo now. It's very much, it feels retaliatory in a way. But that's gonna be what's in the paint, and I don't hate it.
But
I love seeing battles.
Basketball, they let them kind of duke it out down there.
Yeah.
The thing is, Zach Edey so rarely gets called for his fouls, and he quite literally has broken the record for most times getting fouled. Now, part of that is because he's 7'4", and of course you're gonna have to foul him, and of course he's gonna break records.
The hack-a-shack method.
But Zach Edey's probably the most dominant tool in this tournament still.
Yes.
He's the best player in this tournament. As much as I love DJ Burns, a.k.a. Lefty Jokic, I really do believe this NC State team has a shot here.
I think they do.
I don't have them winning. I feel like this is a collision of Purdue versus UConn.
But I think plus 9.5 is a line I'm comfortable with NC State.
That's the money, right?
And it's because I've seen throughout the tournament they bring in very strong guys who they're going to foul Edey no matter what. That's just part of the game plan. Is you need to foul him to get him out of the paint.
I think this game's a blowout.
But if you're able to physically move him before he gets the ball and keep him in front of you, kind of half-legged, I think Burns is big enough and strong enough to move Edey out of the paint before the ball gets there. Yeah. And if he's able to consistently hold that down based on his lower center of gravity, based on his size, I think he could make Edey force other teammates to carry this team.
I just think he's going to get like 3 foul calls in the first half, and then it's over.
I mean, that's what I'm worried. And if it happens, then
it's game.
Yeah, it's game. It's
and
done.
I think once that happens, like if he gets into foul trouble and Edey doesn't, like it's quite literally game.
Yes,
and
it's
that's
cooked.
where I'm like, yeah. All of a sudden, your 9.5 points doesn't feel safe,
No.
And then they end up backdooring it and they win by like 11 off of some foul shots, and you're just like, damn. I should have won this plus 9.5. I didn't. I'm gonna take Purdue here with the points.
Sure.
So we have a Purdue UConn matchup.
Yeah, and I think UConn runs it.
I think UConn beats the snot out of them.
Because that's the biggest issue with Purdue for me is they are great in the half court.
Yeah.
Edey has no speed. He cannot
move a little
bit.
Right. He's not like
if you have an up tempo team like UConn is able to play,
they can play. And they have bigs.
Yeah, and they have bigs.
They have bodies.
They have bodies that are able to keep up. I'm not saying they're the fast team. They're not a fast break offense in any way. They're not the run and gun, but they play with a high tempo. And I don't think Edey's going to be able to keep up and be as effective when on defense. And that's going to be a big mark against Purdue there.
UConn national champions predicted by us. We're going to go to the women's bracket. South Carolina, undefeated, hasn't lost a game versus NC State. Now, before we get into this has to be like the best time to be an NC State fan ever. If you're an NC State fan, enjoy this week. I'm not saying you guys have no shot to win the championship, but just enjoy 2 Final Fours. It's very rare that happens.
Not only that, they're ranked right now in baseball too.
There we go.
Yeah, it's a great time all the way around.
You know, when was the last time 2 schools were both in the Final Four, not including UConn doing it back-to-back years? South Carolina, NC State, I think
South Carolina's going to run it.
Like, we're just like, South Carolina's like legit superstar hoopers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the majority of this roster ends up pro.
It's going to be like 3 or 4 of them, probably, yeah.
Yeah, which feels right.
Iowa, UConn. Let's talk about the Iowa LSU game. Caitlin Clark.
Dominated.
She's a monster.
Yes.
From the very first play, she dagger threes. Mm-hmm. And there's no one that can guard her on that LSU team. That game was the biggest game in women's sports to date in America.
It has tied the all-time women's basketball viewership. 12.5 million was the average viewership.
I think we're looking at an era of the NBA was saved by Magic and Larry Bird, and that rivalry that carried from college to the NBA, and both of them being great and winning championships, and it created natural storylines for people in the 80s to gravitate to, and perpetuated basketball to be huge. Mm-hmm. Angela Reese and Caitlin Clark are on the same trajectory to do that now, with another class surrounded by Juju Brents, surrounded by other star basketball players that are about to enter this draft. The WNBA is about to get a class of athletes in the next few years that is going to bring new fans, including guys like me and you.
Yeah.
I think we're about to herald the WNBA as one of the most intriguing leagues in all of basketball, and going to be the second biggest league in all of professional basketball.
And I feel it's the right time for it just because the last few years has seen an increase in viewership.
Yeah.
It has been steadily growing as a promotion, essentially, for the last 5-6 years. Like, you had spikes here and there with, like, Candace Parker and such, but this is the first sustained multi-year steady growth it's seen.
Yeah.
And then you have this incredible draft class coming in on top of it.
Yeah.
This is the time for it to explode.
So if Caitlin Clark and Angela Reese are like the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, rivalry that is the WNBA is about to adopt, Don, is Caitlin Clark Magic Johnson or Larry Bird?
Ooh, I think more Larry Bird.
Why is that?
Based on her shooting. Bird was a dead-eye three-point shooter when he wanted to be Caitlin Clark.
He's a corner shooter, yeah.
Yeah, corner shooter. Caitlin Clark does that very well.
Angela Reese gets in the paint.
And Magic was never scared to get in the paint the same way.
Yep.
But they both, I think, I just enjoy their games too much.
Who do you got, Iowa or UConn to win this game?
I have Iowa.
I do too.
I have Iowa overall over South
Whoa,
Carolina.
you're going for the path of destiny.
I want her to finish the story so bad of everything is lined up.
This is the WWE fan.
This is the WWE fan in me.
This is they've worked so hard, they built so much for this storyline. It'd be a tragedy if Roman Reigns won it again.
Well, I love the idea of like South Carolina undefeated, versus Caitlin Clark, multiple record-setting years. Like, she's tied all-time three-pointers in a single game
in my life.
I think she's in the argument for greatest college basketball player of all time.
I agree. I think she's on the Mount Rushmore already.
Yeah, easily.
I don't think that's a crazy.
No, that's not a crazy
say.
statement.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't name her the best overall just because they had to change the rules for Kareem. But that's the fact that that's even a sentence coming out of my mouth says where I think she is in terms of quality of play. I want to see those two just go head to head and a dagger 3 to end.
I do too. I think.
Like, I want that March Madness.
I think I'm going to be rooting for Iowa. It's just, if I have my money, I'm betting South Carolina.
Yeah.
But the money's not going to go a long way. So, and I told you, I'm chasing pluses. Probably take Iowa when it comes down to it. I'll probably take it whoever wins between Iowa and UConn.
Yeah, and I like that a lot.
Let's finish with question of the day. Don, I got a great question for you. With baseball season starting,
okay,
what is the best concession food in all of sports? What is the thing that you crave, that you're excited about? Ballpark, football stadium, whether it's the horse track. Like, what is the thing when you go to a sporting event you're excited to have? I'm gonna rattle you off my top 3.
Ooh, you got top 3
in no specific order, just 3.
Okay.
The first one, popcorn. I'm a popcorn fiend. Anyone that knows me, I'll smash 3 buckets of popcorn at the movie theater. I'm gonna get popcorn.
Okay.
A baseball game specifically, I'm going to get ice cream. I'm going to get ice cream in a helmet. I'm going to eat all of it, and I'm going to take the helmet home. I have a collection at my mom's house of like 40. They're the same exact helmet. I love them.
Yeah.
I go for it every single time.
Souvenir in there.
And lastly, you're going to think I'm going to say a Dodger dog because everyone gets hot dogs.
No, I mean, that's... Okay, go ahead.
I get the worst nachos you can get.
It is.
The plastic cheese. I don't even want those ones in a helmet. I already got that. I want the ones that come in the bag, the cheese,
the
jalapenos that are like cold, but they have like, and
they've been sitting out for a while.
Every other one doesn't have any spice or whatever, but sometimes you get that perfect stinky cheese jalapeno bite. Yep. Oh, it's electric. It's electric.
No, that's one of my nachos are the only time I really ever go and eat nachos is at a baseball game,
right?
That's the only time I really do it. That's been a tradition of my family for some reason. I'm a hot dog guy. Costco has hot dogs. Like, it's not a special occasion thing in the same way. For me, I will take your popcorn and raise you kettle corn, because that's the only time I really ever eat kettle corn. Is that
Cracker Jacks? Do Cracker Jacks count?
Cracker Jacks are mainly baseball. I don't really get them too often because there's too much. Like, I feel like there's too much molasses or caramel on them, where it just ruins anything else right there.
Great idea for us to do.
What's up?
We got to go to an Angels game, and for every strikeout, we have to put in a lip of Big League Chew.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that.
We just grab a pinch of Big League Chew for every strikeout that the Angels get.
We're just not going to be able to speak by the end. Oh, Angels get. We have a shot at it. Their pitching is not the best.
Yeah, if we do like every strikeout in the game, we would die.
Yeah, we would swallow the entire pack.
Gum. Yeah, we'd have to bring like 4 bags of Big League Chew. But
I like that.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Bus Picks. Now, remember, next week we're going to have a WrestleMania breakdown.
Yep.
Me and Don are going to be dressed up as our favorite wrestlers of all time.
I like it.
We're going to be bringing in the heat. We love you guys. And remember, pray for the parlays.